Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to the Outsiders channel. For the purposes of this video, what we're going to be doing is looking at Mega Civilization. I think you could see that from the intro. Just looking at the components, it absolutely oozes quality. We're going to take a few minutes in this video just to go over it, some of those components that come in a box. But first off, all I wanted to really say about it is the product absolutely is the most expensive game I've ever owned. It's £160 for a board game. Probably likely to be the most expensive game that I've ever owned in terms of board games. But I'm a huge fan of Advanced Civilization, as you've seen from two previous videos. And what stopped my series there was I knew that this was coming. I'm going to be running this as an event at Concord, Mark Crew 162's event over in Bristol on the 20th of March. I'll leave a link to his information at the beginning of this video so you can have a look at it if you want to join me in this. It's an 18-player board game, potentially 5 to 18 players, played over the length of a whole day, 10 hours worth of time, 10 to 12 hours. Fabulous game, as you know, and without a doubt my all-time favourite. I'm fortunate that this is 1051 copy of 3000. They're a limited amount. I think they're going to be certainly worth their money in the long run, because these games, like the original, you can still sell the original Advanced Civilization for way over the price that I paid for it. Even now, with a kit that I've used so often, it's barely serviceable, just about serviceable, still worth its money today. When you open the box up, as you can see, you're greeted by a number of things. The most important thing is how well organised it all is, and that shows through on the rulebook. I was fortunate enough to have the rulebook a few days before the game arrived, and it's pretty clear as you start looking through how well thought through it is. You've got bags for all your counters, and you're going to need them because there must be at least 2,000 counters here. You've got trays for all the really nice little trays that they are, but for all the various resources that exist in the game. You've got all the strategy guides that you could want that give you, effectively these will give a new player a chance to see what you get off certain cards based on the card you previously owned. So it's kind of a bit like in role-playing where you get feats and then that gives you certain advantages to require other feats. It's a little bit like that in this game. All the cards are, again, of the highest quality stock that you can imagine, and that also goes for all. There are a mountain of playing type cards in this game. You can see these are much larger than normal. I haven't opened these yet, but you can see how well produced the whole thing is. I mean, there must be about 100 plus cards here, and there are absolute stacks of them. Again, everything in here is beautifully done. The game is very much a game where, as I've said in previous videos, it's a trading style game rather than a war game. And having had the rulebook, it's pretty clear to me, although this is sort of a quick look at the contents and a quick feel of it, it feels very much like Advanced Civilization. There are a number of tweaks, some of which we'd already kind of incorporated into our own house rules to speed the game up, which is perfectly acceptable. The board, as you can see, that is a 6 foot long board, easy 6 foot long board when you put the whole thing together. I put it onto the floor. I could have used my table, would have just about coped with it, but I just, for this video, wanted to give a quick flavour for it. We'll get more on this when we go through the convention. I'm sure we can take some videos and stuff of the game as it unfolds. One thing that's pretty clear when I look through the rulebook is the scoring system, how you win and lose the game, has changed, and I think it's been streamlined in a very clever way. I like the way that there are now 18 countries involved, and you can see and feel the pressure for space. There's far more neighbours for people now. In the earlier version of the game, one thing I always felt it suffered from was the fact that certain countries had certain distinct advantages over the others because of their isolated position, buying them more time, particularly for the new player. Now I feel that most countries have pressure to establish relationships with people around them much more quickly, much more of a priority than before, which I really like because it encourages talk, it encourages trade, it encourages conversation, which is what you want. And you can imagine this game with 18 people around it, how much interest there would be. I'll just pull out, just to give you an idea of just a few other bits and pieces. Included in it is a rulebook. There's standard affair, obviously, rulebooks, but you rarely find one that's so well laid out in games these days, to be honest with you. Everything you could want is in here. It's very beautifully colour-coded. I like the fact that in the back of it, you know, very simply explains about the various areas for each of the nations that exist, what their traditional area of growth is. All that sort of stuff is very, very important. They've even broken down whether you're playing with 5 players, whether you're playing with a full 18, how to scale the game accordingly. great tips. I mean, this saves so much time. I've done a lot of searching online, and my simple conclusion thus far is the fact that the game feels from all aspects very well balanced. There is some very basic guides of how to play the countries out there, but this is a game like the previous edition that's an experience. It's always been an experience. And one of the great things that the designers have thought around on this is, why don't we make it more of an experience? I think this game is going to lend itself very well for a full day event. If you ever want to put something on, or you've got a convention and you want to put something on in that convention, which is what I'm doing for Mark Crew, you're really going to be on something if you can get at least the minimum amount of players. Everybody's going to come away at the end of the day feeling they created some civilization, no matter how bad or strong it was. This game uses no dice, as I've previously said in other videos. Obviously, everything is down to your ability to speak to other people. Often people will say, is it a war game? Not really, but it's kind of an eye for an eye. You know, if somebody does something to you that you don't like, then, you know, never forget, doesn't mean you should stay angry. Never forget, you're playing this game as much as you are the players, and there are plenty of opportunity for you to, shall we say, get your own back later. It's a beautiful game for that, because it's a marathon, not a sprint. Overall, the quality of the game is blowing me away, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a huge investment in my mind. And I was a little bit apprehensive about doing this because I do own Advanced Civilization, but I can honestly say, genuinely, I feel like the investment was well worth it, and I'm looking forward to getting my money's worth with it, running this quite a number of times over this year. So we're doing this in Bristol, 20th of March. If you want to be part of that experience and possibly be the first UK national civilization champion, why don't you come and join me on the board and have a game? I can promise you, it is easy to learn, brilliant to try and master. It's going to be a classic, and they've really changed a number of things in this game to make it even more fun. More civilizations, more issues, more problems to deal with. Can't be a bad thing. Looking forward to locking into horns with everybody who turns up and teaching them this wonderful game. And I'm sure all of those people who do join with me in this will realise how great the game is, and because of the way it plays over such a length of time, what an experience you'll get out of it. Anyway, I've been Sean Connors. Just a quick cursory look and a little talk around Mega Civilization. Was it worth it? I think it was, but you'll have to be the judge. It's a big game, no doubt about it. Not normal these days. Everybody wants to do everything in 3 or 4 hours nowadays. But I say take a chance on this and go for it. You won't regret it. I feel very privileged to have a copy. There ain't that many left out there, is there, really? So I hope you get some. And if you do, get a copy and you're in the UK and you ever put an event together, remember me. Message me. I'll definitely come. Anyway, thanks very much. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.